Okay, hello. Alright, it's about the fifth time I've tried to do this video. Keep getting interrupted. Okay, holiday, Madonna. Pretty interesting little decode this. As you know, if you've been following the channel, we've had, well, we've been looking at several dates coming up to this particular day, actually, to do with Madonna, maybe croak dates, or would have to be something very significant happen. Some kind of big news event revolving around Madonna. Anyway, so we've looked at the 20th of August, we've looked at the 30th of August. If you've been following the numbers yourself, you would have noticed that there were several dates in between those two dates that looked fairly interesting as well. And there was also the 31st was also a fairly interesting date. Time obviously ties back in with Diana's 28th anniversary of her death. So there was a hell of a lot of dates just coming up in this latter part of August that were very interesting and connected to the idea of Madonna maybe croaking or something big happening. And obviously the first is we're still, this is still tying in with Madonna. Okay, if you recall back to some of those number jumps we did, a large proportion of them had 9-1 references in there. And of course I was saying, well, a lot of this stuff as well ties in with the Hoover Dam, and it's difficult to pinpoint. Like, you can't, it's all just guesswork saying, well, this is going to happen on this date, or this is going to happen, then because of X, Y, or Z. It's just all pretty much guesswork, just looking at synchronicities with different numbers and kind of saying, well, maybe something will happen then, maybe it won't, I don't know. But anyway, I'm still on the lookout tonight until sort of the midnight hour to see if something happens with Madonna, or the Hoover Dam, or World War III, or Donald Trump, because he was hugely tied into those numbers as well. We saw a lot of 146 number numerology popping up, and his birthday popping up in several of the number jumps as well. So it's all just, I don't know. But anyway, let me show you this interesting connection here, because holiday, obviously we're on a holiday today. It's Labor Day, it's Giles's Day, and notice on the cover for the single release here, okay, they've circled the circle. The circles are in red. Yeah, they put the O in red in both Madonna and holiday. Yeah, the idea of holy day, a holy day. Okay, I expect most holidays were originally holy days. Yeah, and hence why we've probably got the word holiday. Okay, maybe, I'm not sure, but that sounds logical to me. Anyway, and the idea here is the hole, yeah, the hole that we have to come out of is the Vesica Pisces. Yeah, we have to come out of the black Madonna, so to speak, the corrupted version of the metaphysical. Yeah, this is why, you know, this is why the symbolism with the Virgin Mary is the mother, and then the son is with her, yeah, being raised by her, but the son is not supposed to go into the mother. Okay, do you get the idea? That's why she's a mother figure. Okay, part of the reason why she's a mother figure. Okay, anyway, getting kind of sidetracked here. This idea of giving birth. It's Labor Day today, and so this idea of giving birth out of the whole, okay, the O, the Vesica Pisces, the gateway between the physical and the metaphysical. Okay, Madonna's song Material Girl. This is what happens when you go into the metaphysical and give it power. Okay, you materialize the metaphysical. Okay, and it's often not materialized correctly. Okay, so we have a corrupt material girl, so to speak. Anyway, Bloody hell, Dan, where are you going with this? Let's just get on with the blooming number jumps so that we can see why this is interesting for today's date. So if we're looking at the idea of birth and giving birth, right, we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at Madonna's birthday, for starters, to the birth of this record, okay, which happens to be 9153 days. Now, you know, when you do this decoding malarkey for a little while, you start seeing, and I've especially been doing this in in a lot of the recent decodes. I've been looking at numbers and just saying, well, hang on a minute, you know, what are we seeing in this number? You know, what other numbers can we just sort of look at it and sort of pop out to us? Well, obviously the 9-1, because we've been looking at this particular date today, Labor Day, and the connections with pi and everything else. So 9-1 is sticking out big time for me on this, and so is the number 153. And obviously 153, the 153 fish, the fish is the Vesica Pisces. It is that same gateway as the O there that is highlighted in red. So this is the gateway, and here is the gate number, so to speak, all rolled into one here. And of course the other number that's kind of sticks out is the 915 in there as well, which happens to be today, inclusive with the end date inclusive, the United States happens to be 91,005 days old. So just the number itself is kind of interesting, but that's not really what's really interesting about this decode. The fact is, this is her birthday through to the release of that song, okay, through to the release of Holiday or Holy Day. Now the big holy day is the birth of Christ, Christmas, okay. It's interesting that it's not quite 1225, but we do have some of the numerology showing up for the idea of Christmas here, okay, with the 25 years and 22 days. But that's not really not what's interesting, but we have to bear that in mind with what we're thinking about with Madonna being the mother, okay, kind of the Virgin Mary, kind of corrupted Virgin Mary right now, Virgin Mary right now, but we've got to look at the son, okay, we've got to look at her son now, who is Rocco, yeah, the Rock, unbelievable. So the birth of Rocco Ritchie here, her son. So we've got Madonna the mother and the son, okay, Mary and Christ. Now we're looking at today's date, the holiday, the holy day, and look at this again, 9153. Now I've had to fudge it and include the end date, but actually, realistically, into tomorrow's date is really what we're looking at. We're looking at midnight hour stuff here, because remember the significance of the number 29. But anyway, 1953 to the holiday, to the holy day. Absolutely bonkers. That is just absolutely insane to me. Okay, 9153. Okay, to the release of Holiday. Yeah, the release from the holy hole through to the holiday. 9153. Mental. Let me show you something else that just popped up. I haven't watched anybody's decodes on it yet, but this was I just spotted this number kind of matched up. So you remember this dude, Mayor Giuliani, or whatever the hell his name is, Rudy Giuliani, right? His birthday. Now, why am I talking about him? Because he was just somewhere in this line of bump is car accident, 30th of August 2025. This is one of the dates we've been looking at for Madonna. So this was kind of interesting that this just happened to pop up on the 30th of August. Okay, I'm going to show you why that is. And also look, on the 1st of September, so today, Trump has announced he's going to award Giuliani the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I don't think any kind of politician should ever get anything like that. But anyway, um, let's see. Right, they're all in it together anyway. It's all nonsense. 1st of September. So that's got our date here. We've got our date here for Madonna. Interesting with the car accident. I believe it was a Honda that crashed into him, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, the Honda. Yeah, the Honda has the. We just did the recent decode in Back to the Future with the Honda that tied into Ozzy Osbourne. Okay, and all the football connections there. And then, of course, that also tied back in with the stuff in Pulp Fiction because Butch has to crash his Honda, and then Zed's dead, and obviously Zed tied into Ozzy, and Ozzy tied back to that Honda in Back to the Future. So we've got the two Hondas tying together, yada yada yada. Anyway, this was just interesting, and I want to say there was something interesting about the. I think it was a girl. I don't know if I heard the girl's name or not. I haven't. I should have watched a couple of people's decodes on it first. I just seen it on the. I just saw it on the actual whatchamacallit, just on somebody's thumbnail about it, and I thought, oh, I better look that up first. Anyway, so we've got this date, 30th of August, tying into Madonna. Let me show you something. This is Giuliani's birthday through to Madonna's birthday, and when I seen this, I just happened to have this in here while I was doing this other one. When I saw that, I'm like, 5193. That's unbelievable. It's the wrong way round. Obviously, it should have been 9153. But for that to just even be anywhere near the same four numbers anyway, and the same four numbers, so to speak, just in a different order, I thought, well, that is super duper interesting with the idea of a car crash. Thinking about what thinking about Princess Diana and all that stuff as well. And then, so I was like, well, okay, I'll just run through to today. Well, it's actually tomorrow's date I've done here, and I've had to botch it a little bit with an inclusive date here, just to see if there was a prime number that would pop up with this, close to the first. Obviously, this ties in. Obviously, we're really looking about the first going into the second here. So I did that. 98 days on as well from his birthday, which is again super duper. 81 as well is super duper interesting, but the 98 super duper interesting as well with the the death of the Queen stuff. But anyway, clicked it, and I'm like, oh my goodness. 3221, 321, the final countdown, unbelievable. His birthday through to 92, a nice prime number there, 3221. Okay. Was there anything else interesting? Yes and no. I did run through. There wasn't really anything interesting through to Rocco's birthday, but I thought, well, I better do Guy Ritchie as well, just in case, because of course he's the father. Running through to Guy Ritchie was 8871, which I thought was fairly interesting, seeing as Sean Penn, Madonna's first husband. Okay, Guy Ritchie is. I don't know if he's the second. I think he's the second. I don't think she ever got married to anybody else, but she's had a few. I believe there's a couple other guys there that were a little bit more long term. But anyway, Guy Ritchie. Okay, Sean Penn's birthday is the 17th of August. So that's just kind of interesting with the other half there. And then was there anything interesting here? No. 8871, the 8871st prime is 91811, which again was kind of interesting back with 91 and Rocco Ritchie, and yeah, but you can usually get something good with the composite, if there's not something good with a prime number for sure. Anyway, that's it really. Did I have something else interesting down here? Not really. I'll show you it anyway. This was the release of Holiday through to Rocco's birthday. It was kind of interesting with the 618 in there with Madonna, and this 83 again. Obviously, Mr. Giuliani with his accident there happening on a day that we were looking at for something for Madonna. So that's what I'm trying to get at, is that okay, I was thinking 8:30, something interesting with Madonna. You'd never in a million years pin. I mean, he was the mayor of New York, so I guess you could say, that is a connection there, but that's a very loose connection with Madonna, New York. And there's also the connection in Back to the Future, where we were looking at the 8:30 number, and then we had the Mayor Red Thomas, and obviously Rudy obviously harks back to the colour red. So there is that slight connection there. So if you remember in 1955 when we did the decode, the clock tower chimes as Marty is kind of being born towards the clock tower, and then he's sort of the 8:30 chimes, and then he comes back out of there. Right before that point, he is in the roadway and kind of almost gets run over. So there's the idea of a car accident again being tied in there. And then we see as he's sort of being reborn again, I suppose, at 8:30, he walks back up to the corner there, the other corner. Basically, the Red Thomas mayor re-elect car drives by, and then there's also, he picks up the newspaper, and then we have all the 915 numerology, and then in the background is the 9-1, the 1st of September's in the background there, right behind him. So again, it's still fairly ominous for tonight. Probably nothing will happen, but it is just interesting the way this stuff ties together. Anyway, again, who would have thought that, Mayor Giuliani would connect to it? And also, that is probably, looking at that, wasn't the 27th when they opened the Golden Gate Bridge to pedestrian traffic, and then the 28th when they opened it to cars, maybe? So the 528, kind of interesting with the Golden Gate Bridge again, maybe. I don't know if anybody else has talked about that yet or not, or what, but that might be another, if I'm getting my dates right. I can't remember now. Anyway, that's it for the decode. Just very fascinating that those same numbers popped up, and there is this kind of little connection with him to this particular date as well. Well, the second, which of course you can actually fudge. What was I going to say? You can actually change this day on and match it. You can actually match it up. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but you can actually kind of match up. No, I've lost my train of thought there. Kind of match it up again. Anyway, it kind of matches up, doesn't it? Yeah, it's kind of interesting that the 3 is on the end is probably what I'm trying to get at. I don't know what that one I just clicked on there was, but that 3 being on the end means that even if you do that, this can still match up. I think this is what I was trying to get at. You can kind of still match this up by doing whatever. I don't know. But anyway, it kind of still matches up for the second is what I was trying to get at, I think. I think that was my train of thought. Alright, Holiday. Okay, thanks for watching. I was trying to keep that short. Alright, thanks, bye.